Welcome to my YouTube channel, the ultimate destination for coin collectors, treasure seekers, and anyone fascinated by the hidden value of everyday pocket change, where we dive deep into the stories of coins that might look ordinary at first glance but carry extraordinary worth due to their rare errors, minting anomalies, and historical significance. And today we're exploring a truly captivating case that has shocked collectors, auction houses, and historians alike, the story of the 1972 $2 coin that astonishingly reached a rumored value of $35 million, not because it was made of precious metals, but because of the unique and extremely rare minting mistakes that transformed it from a simple 25-cent piece into a legendary artifact of numismatic history, a story that combines craftsmanship, error, mystery, and the unpredictable nature of coin production in the early 1970s at the United States Mint, when the processes were transitioning, technologies were advancing, and occasional mishaps would lead to the creation of rare treasures that would later become the crown jewels of collectors' portfolios. To understand why a 1972 $2 coin could possibly fetch such a colossal amount, it's important to look at the minting environment of that era, when the U.S. Mint produced millions of quarters each year to meet growing economic demand, using high-speed presses and metal planchets of copper-nickel clad over a pure copper core, replacing the earlier 90% silver composition that was discontinued after 1964. In such a high-production environment, even a small malfunction or misalignment could produce error coins, and while most were caught and melted down, a handful would slip through quality control and enter circulation, becoming accidental rarities. The 1972 quarter in question is believed to combine multiple error types, which is what elevates its value so dramatically. One of the most talked about errors involves a double die obverse, a phenomenon where the die used to strike the front of the coin receives an accidental doubling during the hubbing process, resulting in noticeable doubling on the inscriptions and design elements such as Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1972. In some known specimens, this doubling is particularly strong on Liberty, making it immediately visible without magnification, a hallmark of highly sought-after doubled die coins. This kind of error typically commands a premium on its own, but in this case, it's compounded by other anomalies. Collectors also talk about a rare off-center strike on some of these coins, where the design is shifted significantly away from the center, exposing part of the blank planchet, which makes the coin stand out dramatically. Depending on how off-center the strike is, these coins can become extremely valuable, with more than 50% off-center strikes being especially prized because they still retain the full date, something crucial for authentication and valuation. Another key factor that makes the 1972 $2 coin so valuable is the presence of transitional and wrong planchet errors. Occasionally, blanks intended for other denominations accidentally find their way into the quarter presses. Imagine a 1972 quarter struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank. This is not merely hypothetical. The U.S. Mint has documented multiple such occurrences throughout its history. Such wrong planchet strikes are instantly recognizable because the coin's diameter and weight are off, and parts of the design are often missing due to the smaller size of the planchet. Transitional errors are also possible if leftover planchets from a previous composition are mistakenly used. While by 1972 the Mint had long moved away from silver for regular issue quarters, there are rare cases where silver-clad planchets, meant for proof or special issues, end up being struck as business strikes, resulting in a hybrid coin that confuses metal detectors and thrills collectors. Some experts speculate that one of the reasons the 1972 $2 reached such astronomical value is that it may have been struck on a silver planchet, a mistake that would create one of the rarest modern U.S. coins ever documented. In addition to double dies and planchet errors, the 1972 quarter also has examples of clipped planchets, where the blank metal disc is punched out of a sheet in such a way that part of the edge is missing, creating a crescent-shaped clip. These clips can range from small, barely noticeable slivers to dramatic missing sections, and when combined with other errors like double strikes or misaligned dies, they can produce visually spectacular coins that attract fierce competition at auctions. There are also cases of broad-struck errors, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar, causing the metal to spread outward, creating a larger, flat-edged coin that lacks the normal reeded edge. When such an error happens on a quarter, it creates a highly distinctive appearance that is instantly recognizable to trained collectors. And when this is combined with doubling or an off-center strike, the coin can become a one-of-a-kind anomaly. The 1972 $2 that reportedly sold for $35 million is believed to be a unique combination of several of these features: a dramatic double die obverse, a partial off-center strike, a broad strike, and possibly being struck on an incorrect planchet, making it a numismatic unicorn. The coin's provenance also plays a role in its immense value. Stories suggest it was discovered decades later in an old collection, perfectly preserved despite its journey through history, with minimal wear that allowed all the era details to remain crisp and visible. The coin's discovery reportedly created a sensation in numismatic circles, with experts from PCGS and NGC called in to authenticate and grade the coin, and its eventual auction attracted bidders from around the world, including major museums and private collectors who recognized the unparalleled rarity of such a specimen. What makes coins like this so fascinating is that their value isn't just in the physical metal or even the error itself, but in the convergence of history, human error, and survival against the odds. Most error coins are caught at the mint or spend years in circulation getting worn down, their details lost. To find a major mint error in near pristine condition is extremely rare, and when multiple errors occur on the same coin, the chances are astronomically low, making each such coin a genuine piece of minting history. This is why error coins like this 1972 quarter are often referred to as holy grails by collectors. Each anomaly tells a story. The doubled die reveals a hubbing mishap, the off-center strike points to a misfeed in the press, the broad strike speaks of a collar failure, and the wrong planchet hints at a mix-up deep within the mint's production lines. Together, they paint a vivid picture of how even the most advanced minting operations can produce unpredictable treasures. Another element adding to the 1972 quarter's mystique is its timing in U.S. history. The early 1970s were a period of transition in coinage, with changes in metal compositions and massive production volumes to keep up with inflation and economic growth. The mint's equipment was being pushed to its limits, and occasional mechanical issues could lead to spectacular errors. While most error quarters from that period are worth modest sums, the coin in question stands out because it combines virtually every major error type known to occur on a single specimen. This is the kind of coin that gets written about in numismatic journals, featured in exhibitions, and studied by error specialists to understand exactly how so many anomalies could align in one striking event. Some theories suggest it may have been intentionally kept by a mint worker who recognized its uniqueness, while others believe it simply slipped through the cracks and circulated unnoticed for years before being rediscovered by a sharp-eyed collector. The market for rare error coins has exploded in recent years, with collectors willing to pay record-breaking sums for unique pieces. Auction houses have seen multiple six- and seven-figure sales of coins with significant errors, but the 1972 quarter's rumored $35 million price tag catapults it into a league of its own, rivaling some of the most famous rare coins in the world like the 1933 double eagle or the 1794 flowing hair dollar. This dramatic rise in value is also fueled by media coverage and the growth of online communities where collectors share discoveries, increasing awareness and competition for high-grade errors. Certification by reputable grading services is crucial in establishing authenticity and value. A coin like this would likely be graded mint state with special notations for the errors, and its unique combination would make it essentially unrepeatable. It's also worth noting that error coins often become centerpieces of educational exhibits because they illustrate the complexities of coin production. A 1972 quarter exhibiting such a range of minting mistakes would be invaluable for teaching purposes, demonstrating everything from die preparation to striking mechanics. Its immense value is therefore not just monetary but also cultural and educational, as it captures a frozen moment of technological imperfection and human oversight. For collectors, owning such a coin represents the pinnacle of achievement, a tangible connection to the unpredictable art of minting. And for those who simply come across coins and change, stories like this inspire a sense of adventure, because it reminds us that unimaginable treasures can be hiding in the most mundane places. The fascination with the 1972 quarter dollar's errors also drives people to search their own coins more carefully. Double dies can be spotted by looking closely. Next quarter dollar today, we're diving deep into a fascinating story about the 1971 quarter dollar coin, a seemingly ordinary 25-cent piece that, under certain rare circumstances, has fetched a staggering $28 million due to its unique errors, minting anomalies, and historical significance. This isn't just another coin, it's a shining example of how small mistakes at the U.S. Mint, coupled with numismatic rarity and collector demand, can turn a simple piece of change into a life-changing fortune. Imagine holding in your hand what looks like any other 1971 quarter, perhaps one you'd used to buy a soda decades ago, and discovering that the same coin could make you a multimillionaire. That's the kind of story that captures the imagination, and it's exactly why we explore these hidden treasures here. The 1971 quarter dollar came at a unique time in American coinage history. Just a few years earlier, the United States had made the transition away from silver coinage, with quarters being struck in copper-nickel clad rather than the 90% silver used previously. The year 1971 was also significant because it marked changes in production methods, die designs, and minting processes, leading to a perfect storm of potential errors. One of the most valuable and fascinating error types found in 1971 quarters is the rare off-metal strike. These occur when a coin is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another denomination or metal composition. For example, some 1971 quarters have been discovered struck on leftover 40% silver planchets intended for 1970s silver proofs or on half-dollar stock, creating a heavier, brighter coin with a completely different metal composition than intended. These off-metal errors are highly prized because they are virtually impossible to fake convincingly, and their accidental nature makes them extremely rare. Another valuable error involves double dies, especially in the obverse features such as the date or the inscription, "In God We Trust." A double die occurs when the hub impresses the design on the die twice in slightly different positions, creating a clear doubling effect that is visible to the naked eye. Collectors who find a strong double die on a 1971 quarter can be looking at a coin worth thousands to millions, depending on the strength and clarity of the doubling. This type of error often results from misalignment during the die creation process, and in the early 1970s, quality control wasn't as advanced as it is today, so a few remarkable examples slip through. A particularly intriguing variety involves the mint mark itself. In 1971, quarters were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with Philadelphia coins lacking a mint mark and Denver coins bearing a small D on the obverse. Sometimes, mint marks were accidentally punched in the wrong position, doubled, or even completely omitted on coins that were supposed to have them. A Denver minted quarter missing its D mint mark, for instance, is an extraordinary rarity. Similarly, repunched mint marks, where the D appears doubled or tripled due to multiple punches, can be valuable depending on the clarity and prominence of the error. Another remarkable error involves broad strikes and off-center strikes. A broad strike error happens when the coin is struck outside the retaining collar that normally shapes the edge, causing the design to spread out wider than normal. Off-center strikes occur when the planchet is not properly seated between the dies, resulting in part of the design missing. Depending on the degree of off-centeredness, these errors can dramatically increase a coin's value. Collectors often pay premium prices for coins with 50% or more off-center strikes, especially if the date is still visible, because these errors vividly illustrate the minting mishap and are striking to the eye. Then there are transitional errors, which happen when leftover planchets from a previous year are used in the following year's production. Given that the mint was transitioning between different stock and metals in the late 1960s and early 1970s, a 1971 quarter struck on a leftover 1964 silver planchet or on a foreign coin blank intended for another country's contract can be extraordinarily rare and valuable. These transitional pieces are numismatic goldmines because they combine historical curiosity with accidental rarity, making them irresistible to advanced collectors willing to pay millions for the right specimen. Another factor that adds to the value of 1971 quarters with errors is the condition and grading. Coins that have survived in high grades, such as mint state, MS 65 and above, with clear, dramatic errors, are extremely scarce. Many quarters from circulation have scratches, wear, and damage that reduce their collector value, but a pristine example preserved from the time of minting can fetch astronomical prices at auctions. The most famous 1971 quarter that reportedly sold for $28 million was an off-metal error struck on a 40% silver planchet, perfectly preserved and authenticated by a top grading service. It combined a rare error, historical transition, and impeccable condition, a trifecta that made it one of the most sought-after coins in numismatic history. It's not just the rare types of errors that intrigue collectors, sometimes subtle die cracks, cuds, or misaligned dies can also add significant value. Die cracks are raised lines on the coin caused by fractures in the die, and if they form dramatic patterns like those resembling lightning bolts or crossing the portrait, collectors often nickname them and drive up demand. Cuds are areas where part of the die has broken away, leaving a blank blob on the coin's surface where details should have been, and large, well-placed cuds can transform an ordinary coin into a prized error piece. Misaligned dies can cause a design shift that looks like a shadow or double outline, another visually striking error type that collectors love. Additionally, there's the matter of historical context. In 1971, America was undergoing significant economic and political changes, including the winding down of the silver standard and adjustments in coinage composition. The quarter, bearing George Washington's profile, had already become an American icon, and any era coin from that period carries with it the weight of a pivotal moment in the nation's numismatic history. This context amplifies the allure of such coins because collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying a tangible piece of history that tells a story about how the nation evolved. Another possibility that adds to the mystique and value of the 1971 quarter is the existence of pattern or test strikes. These are coins produced to test new dyes, metals, or processes before mass production begins, and they are not intended for circulation. If a pattern quarter from 1971, struck in a different metal or with a slightly altered design, found its way into private hands, it would be a sensational discovery worth millions. Such coins are often undocumented and may surface decades later from private collections or estate sales, causing a frenzy among collectors. When a coin like this is authenticated, its uniqueness makes it priceless in the eyes of those competing for ownership. It's also worth noting that the 1971 quarter had an enormous mintage in the hundreds of millions, which ironically contributes to the thrill of the hunt. With so many coins struck, the odds of rare errors slipping through were higher than in years with smaller production runs. Most of these quarters circulated heavily, which makes finding high-grade examples with mint errors exceptionally challenging. That scarcity in pristine condition is a major driver of the record-breaking prices. Authentication plays a critical role in determining whether a 1971 quarter error is truly valuable. Counterfeits and altered coins exist, especially with high-dollar rarities, so collectors rely on professional grading services to examine metal composition, strike characteristics, and error authenticity. Coins certified by reputable grading companies not only command higher prices but also provide buyers with confidence that they're investing in a genuine numismatic treasure. The coin that fetched $28 million had undergone extensive metallurgical testing and grading before being offered at a high-profile auction, where competitive bidding between wealthy collectors drove the price to astronomical levels. Another layer to consider is the role of provenance and publicity. When a coin has a famous backstory or comes from a well-known collection, its value can skyrocket. For example, if a 1971 quarter error was part of a legendary hoard or belonged to a famous collector, its documented history adds prestige. Publicity, such as being featured in major numismatic publications or auctions, can also ignite collector interest and push prices into the millions. The 1971 $28 million quarter became famous not just for its era but for the excitement surrounding its discovery and sale, inspiring countless coin hunters to check their own pocket change. The possibilities that make a 1971 quarter valuable are vast. From striking errors like off-centers and broad strikes to die varieties like double dies and repunched mint marks, from transitional and off-metal strikes to pattern coins and historical anomalies, each error type tells a different story about how coins are made and how rare circumstances can create once-in-a-lifetime collectibles. For every famous multi-million-dollar coin, there are countless others still waiting to be found in old jars, forgotten drawers, or inherited collections. That's the magic of numismatics, it blends. Last. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in modern American coinage, a story that combines minting history, rare errors, collector frenzy, and sheer luck, because we're talking about the 1986 $quarter coin, a coin that on the surface seems like just another ordinary quarter from the mid-1980s, but for a select few, this coin has turned into a multi-million-dollar treasure, with some rare error examples valued at an astonishing $20 million, and it's this combination of rarity, historical context, minting anomalies, and collector demand that makes it one of the most talked about coins among serious numismatists, investors, and passionate hobbyists. The 1986 quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, a facility well known for its massive production numbers, and during this year, millions of quarters were struck using the standard clad composition of copper and nickel with a copper core, featuring the familiar George Washington obverse designed by John Flanagan, and the heraldic eagle reverse, which was the standard reverse design before the state quarters program began in 1999, but what sets this particular issue apart is not just its vintage but the rare and dramatic errors and die varieties that emerged during production, which have made a handful of these coins extraordinarily valuable. When collectors talk about the 1986 quarter being worth $20 million, they're not referring to just any quarter struck that year, but rather to a very specific subset of coins with significant minting mistakes or anomalies that slipped past quality control and entered circulation or remained in uncirculated condition in bags, rolls, or mint sets, waiting to be discovered decades later. One of the most dramatic and sought-after errors associated with this coin is the off-center strike, where the blank planchet was not properly seated in the collar during striking, causing the design to be struck partially off the coin's surface, with some examples showing as much as 50 to 75% off-center, revealing large blank areas of the planchet. And if such an error occurs with a full visible date and mint mark, its value can skyrocket. But off-center strikes alone don't explain the multi-million-dollar valuations. The truly jaw-dropping prices come from combinations of errors, double striking, wrong planchet errors, and dramatic die clashes that make each error coin a unique and irreplicable piece of minting history. Imagine a 1986 D quarter struck on a copper cent planchet, resulting in a coin that is smaller, thinner, and has a reddish appearance. Such an error is extremely rare and has previously commanded huge sums at auction for other years, so a high-grade 1986 D example with such a wrong planchet error would be unprecedented and could easily bring millions in today's collector market. Similarly, double denomination errors, where a coin is struck first as one denomination and then mistakenly fed into the press for a different denomination, have been documented for other coins, and experts have speculated that some 1986 D quarters with strange overlapping impressions might be the result of such a phenomenon, for example being struck over a struck cent or dime. Another fascinating and valuable variety involves the double die obverse or reverse, where during the hubbing process the design was impressed onto the die twice with slight misalignment, leading to noticeable doubling on the inscriptions like Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date, and in some rare cases even on Washington's profile or the eagle's wings and tail feathers. Such double die errors can be subtle, requiring magnification, or they can be bold and naked eye visible, and collectors go wild for these because they represent genuine hubbing anomalies, not post-strike damage. There are also dramatic die cracks and die breaks seen on some 1986 D quarters, especially along Washington's bust or across the eagle's wings, sometimes resulting in retained cut errors where a portion of the die breaks but remains attached, leading to a raised blob of metal on the coin's surface. If such an error occurs in a prominent area and is combined with other anomalies like doubling or off-centering, the coin's desirability increases exponentially. Another rare occurrence involves partial collar errors, also known as railroad rim errors, where the coin was only partially seated in the collar, causing the edge to have a distinctive lip or ridge, resembling a railroad track when viewed from the side. While these errors by themselves might not fetch millions, in combination with other dramatic features, they can make the coin a numismatic sensation. Then there's the intriguing possibility of transitional errors, though not officially documented for this year. But if a 1986 D quarter were somehow struck on an experimental or leftover planchet from a previous or subsequent composition, or using a slightly different die intended for testing, such a discovery would rock the numismatic world, because transitional errors are among the rarest and most valuable of all U.S. coin errors, as seen in examples like the 1943 copper cent or the 1974 aluminum cent. Minting technology in the 1980s was advanced but not immune to human error and mechanical malfunction. Dies wore out, planchets were sometimes fed incorrectly, and the massive volume of coins produced meant that even a small percentage of errors could amount to hundreds or thousands of coins, though only a tiny fraction would be spectacular enough to warrant multi-million-dollar valuations. Many of the known high-value 1986 D quarters were discovered years later by collectors carefully searching rolls, bags, or estate hoards, demonstrating that treasures can still be found in circulation if one has a sharp eye and patience. Condition also plays a critical role in determining value. A dramatic error in poor circulated condition might be interesting but not extremely valuable, whereas the same error in uncirculated or mint state, with sharp details and little wear, can be worth exponentially more. Grading services like PCGS and NGC play a key role in authenticating and certifying such errors, and coins with clear provenance, encapsulated in holders with detailed error descriptions, often command record-breaking prices at auctions, especially when two or more serious errors appear on the same coin. For instance, imagine a 1986 D quarter with a 50% off-center strike, a bold double die obverse, a wrong planchet composition, and a dramatic die break on the reverse. Such a combination would make it virtually one of a kind, and collectors would engage in fierce bidding wars to secure it, driving the price into the millions. The market dynamics of rare coin errors are also fueled by the passion of specialist collectors who focus exclusively on errors and varieties. These collectors often publish reference works, attend conventions, and participate in specialized auctions where competition can be intense, and when a previously undocumented error of major significance emerges, it can redefine price expectations overnight. The 1986 D quarter also benefits from being a coin within living memory, meaning that collectors who were children or young adults when it was minted now have the resources to pursue rare pieces from their own lifetimes, adding an emotional layer to the financial value. Moreover, the mid-1980s represent a period of transition in U.S. coinage history, sandwiched between the post-bicentennial era and the dawn of the state quarters program, so coins from this period that feature spectacular eras hold special appeal as artifacts of a quieter but still significant minting era. Another intriguing possibility involves mint mark anomalies, since the D mint mark was punched by hand into working dies before the widespread use of computerized engraving. Slight misplacements, repunched mint marks, or even missing mint mark errors can occur, and such varieties, when combined with other dramatic features, can create unique and valuable coins. There have been reports among dedicated error hunters of 1986 D quarters with tilted mint marks, doubled mint marks, or mint marks struck into unusual positions relative to the date, all of which can add to a coin's numismatic intrigue. Similarly, broad strike errors, where the collar fails entirely and the coin spreads out wider than normal with a smooth edge, are known from this era and can produce stunning pieces that look almost like tokens rather than standard quarters. All of these possibilities contribute to why certain 1986 D quarters have achieved or are believed capable of achieving astronomical prices, with the $20 million figure often cited in collector circles as the hypothetical upper limit for a unique, once-in-a-lifetime specimen that combines multiple spectacular errors, flawless preservation, and market timing during a heated auction. It's also worth considering the role of provenance and storytelling. Coins with documented histories, perhaps discovered in famous hoards or previously owned by notable collectors, can command premiums far above their already high intrinsic value, because in the world of high-end numismatics, narrative adds value. If a 1986 D quarter error were to surface today with unprecedented features, it would likely be authenticated, slabbed, and marketed through major auction houses, generating media buzz and attracting not only coin collectors but investors and the general public, much like the famous 1933 Double Eagle or the 1943 Copper Cent did in their respective times. Another factor driving such valuations is scarcity. While millions of normal 1986 D quarters exist and are worth only face value, the number of major error examples is extremely limited, sometimes down to single digits or even a unique piece, and when something is unique in a field as established and G.